Hey there, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group, and hello to everybody who sees this video on YouTube as well. Welcome to this week's episode of Ask an Old Mog, where we try and take some questions from the global Facebook group and answer them in a visual way to help people learn more about playing this game and understanding the mechanics and the how-to. That way you can learn how to play the game the way you want to play it and have a better understanding of how you're building units and attempting various skills and tricks in the game. To try and take out trials and learn to just have fun with it, which is our ultimate goal, right? It's a game, it should be fun. This week's question actually, it kind of comes from the group. Like, nobody asked this question specifically, but I have seen lots of posts about this and lots of questions and stuff in the community chat. And so I thought it'd be useful to try and talk about this as this is a new feature of the game. And so let's go ahead and dive right into this one. So the kind of general questions that I've been seeing have been something along like this line. With the new True Dual Wield update, is it better to build units for True Double Hand or True Dual Wield? And my answer for this is that it's going to depend really heavily on the available gear you have, the unit in the question, and the presence of strong leader skills as they become available for your account. Let's kind of dig into that answer just a little bit. As an example, I'm going to show you 3 different units who all have one-handed STMR weapons and potentially one a dual wield. They have half of the True Dual Wield Cap built into their kit, so you really only have to gear them for 200%, the rest of the way to get them up to 400. And so those units we're going to look at are White Dragon Ling, Roberta and Ignitos, and Dark Rain. Here's the deal. With the new True Dual Wield bonus, it caps out now at 400%. So it's just like True Double Hand now. So in terms of just like raw numbers, you should be able to get relatively high stats comparable to somebody who uses a single weapon and True Double Hand. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Most units should have higher stats, but they might benefit more from True Double Hand depending on their unique nature of their preferred items, their role in combat, how you're building them, their abilities in their kit, what you're doing with the unit. It's really going to depend on a lot of different factors. We are going to kind of compare, as close as we can, some apples to apples units, and look at these units under the microscope a little bit. And so let's go ahead and do that. Here are some of the assumptions. All 3 of these units are going to have the same gear where applicable. They are going to be wearing different vision cards for some obvious reasons, which you'll see in just a second. 2 is that these builds might not be best in slot, but they will demonstrate for you the impact of having True Dual Wield maxed out. Now, third assumption is that gearing for raw attack is not always the best choice. And True Double Hand and True Dual Wield are basically just gearing for attack or magic. So it might not be the best build, depending on the circumstances of what we're dealing with. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll pop over to my units and show you some examples. We're going to swipe over to my teams here, and we're going to start with White Dragon Ling. Now, White Dragon Ling, in this setup, has 8,454 attack, which, for Ling, that's quite good. Previously, before she had 400% True Dual Wield, she was really capping out at 5,000 attack, 6,000 attack. And so she's gotten, quite a bit stronger, and I'll show you the build. Go ahead and go into her shift form here. And she's wearing 2 of her own STMRs, which are high attack daggers. She's wearing this hat, these clothes, a ring that gives bonus stats, Ravenheart, which is a source of True Double Hand attack and magic. Okay, if we swipe over here, it gives Demon Killer, Bird Killer, and True Double Hand attack 50%, True Dual Wield attack 50%, and True Dual Wield magic 50%. So Ravenhearts are, a nice accessory if you're trying to max out your True Dual Wield. Maybe not the best stats on it, but it is relatively good as an accessory. Okay, and then for abilities, she's wearing Twin Swords Mastery, which gives an additional 100%. And then she's got Wings that Transcend Time, which gives an additional 50% to attack and magic. So she ends up here with 400% attack, 100% magic. We don't really care about her magic. She's focusing on attack. And she's got some killers for human and machines and beast and reaper. That's kind of normal for her. And we still have 2 slots open She's wearing the Knights of Grandshelt vision card just for bonus stats and things like that. Okay, so there's Ling. Now here's the kicker. These daggers of hers, they do give her HP 20%, and they give LB gauge fill rate 150%. But they don't necessarily give her like bonus stats. So they are giving her a little bit of HP, but you know, in terms of like why you would want to wear 2 of these is really just to fill up her LB gauge as quickly as possible. This is not necessarily like a good example of a unit who wants 2 of their STMR because it gives tons and tons of bonus stats. For that, we're going to swipe over and take a look at Roberta and Ignitos. Okay, so I'm going to swipe over to another team. Here's Roberta and Ignitos, and we're building her in the shift form, which is her jump form. Okay, now in this build, we've got her set up with a 10,280 attack, and she is wearing 2 of her STMRs. So if we look at that, she's got 2 of her Crimson Malice STMRs. She's got the same hat as Ling, the same clothes as Ling, this ring, this Ravenheart, twin swords, and wings that transcend time. So because, you know, she's got the same exact build as Ling, except for just different STMRs, she's still got, right, the 200%, or sorry, the 400% true dual wield. Her killers are a little bit different because she's a different type of unit. She's missing some jump damage boost, so we've got some extra slots we could put jump damage on if we want to. She's wearing the Knights of Grandshelt vision card just for consistency's sake, but her stats are much, much higher. Why is that the case? Okay, so if we look at Crimson Malice, it has this ability here, a Dragoon called Crimson Death, and that is attack and magic 500, you know, bonus stats. And she can wear 2 of them to get 1,000 bonus stats, and each, you know, those stats are going to get multiplied by her modifiers and stuff like that. Also, this ability here, strengthened abilities, so it increases the modifier of certain abilities by 100x, which is it's her physical abilities, which includes her jump. So it's very, very good. So it increases her stats and it increases her modifier by 100x, which is really, really nice, especially for jump builds. So pretty cool, right? So she's getting bonus stats and modifier boost, and as a result, you know, she's rocking a pretty high attack. Her attack was never this high before, so being above 10,000 for Roberta, a favorite unit of mine. I'm really excited to see her built this way, and be able to see that she can get, you know, pretty nice attack. And we like I said, have room very easily for adding additional 100% jump damage and stuff. But if you're building her as a jumper, you really want to put on the Rykard vision card. I just wanted to use the Knights of Grandshelt card for consistency's sake with Ling. Now, I did say we're going to talk about Rain. Okay, so Rain is the 3rd example. Here's Rain, and with the build that I have him set at, he's at 13,950 magic, which is like, you know, pretty good considering he used to be at like 9,000 magic. Now being at almost 14,000 is really, really nice. Now there's a couple of reasons why this is the case. Again, he's wearing 2 of his own STMR, and his STMR gives, of course, Fairy Killer, Reaper Killer, magic 1,250. So he's getting that bonus twice for Dark Rain, right? He's getting that bonus twice, which is a ton of magic. So he's got 2 of those, and that's why his stats are so high. On top of the fact that I do happen to have him crowned with all of his Silver Crown abilities, but he's wearing the same gear, right? Link's hat, Ruler's Robe, Emperor's Ring, Ravenheart. But here's the kicker. For Rain, you know, he's got maxed out 400% true dual wield magic, but we don't have at this time an accessory or an ability that gives 100% true dual wield magic. So for Rain to do this, he's got to wear a Ravenheart and then 3 of these abilities that give 50%, as long as he wants to still wear his Magic Boost Plus. If he wants his Magic Boost Plus, which is very, very important for his damage, he needs to wear a Ravenheart, which is going to cut down his stats a little bit. Also, he could go higher if we took the Link's hat away and put like the Celestite crown on. He could be a much higher magic, but with his own vision card, he's missing still 50% LB damage, and so the Link's hat gives him the LB damage. And that's again consistency across all 3 of the builds. They're all wearing the Link's hat. So yes, we could wear the Ruler's crown and it'd be much better stats for everybody. But I also wanted to show, you know, this Rain has maxed LB, max True Dual Wield, and he doesn't have any room for killers, but depending on what Esper you put on him, you could just kind of change the killers around pretty easily. He's a premium unit, so he gears really nicely for that. But there you go, so 13,950, not shabby for Rain. And so to kind of go over the basic details of all three here, Ling ends up with much higher attack, but her daggers don't increase her modifiers or stats. Probably not the best build to push for True Dual Wield, even though she meets 50% of the True Dual Wield cap anyway. Pretty easy to make it go the rest of the way, but you're not really using Ling for damage most of the time. Her modifiers are pretty low on her one attack skill, so there you go. Now Roberta, on the other hand, gets much higher stats and a big modifier boost. Dual Wield is probably better for her jump build, might not be the best for her base form which is her chaining build, but you know what? It might very well be, and it's worth it taking a look, especially since she's got Spear and Peril built into her kit. And in Clash of Wills, she can do quite a bit of, she can still do pretty good damage with her chaining, and she's very useful in lots of different ways in her base form. But that 10,000 attack is really nice on her jump build, and I'm excited to try and take her to some stuff now that she's got the True Dual Wield bonus all the way up to 400 pretty easily as an attack unit. Mage units are obviously going to be harder, as we saw with Dark Rain, but he does get a massive increase to his stats, but no real change in his modifiers, so it really comes down to what gear and options you have. If you don't have a lot of that gear that gives him the 50% bonuses, or if you're like me and you're missing the Elena Vision card that gives him a 100% bonus, so then you only need 2 slots, it's really hard to kind of hit all the things you want, like True Dual Wield and killers and LB damage and have Magic Boost Plus in his kit. It's kind of hard to get all of that in there as a True Dual Wield unit. Now, we should theoretically, potentially, hopefully, down the line, maybe get some upgrades to some of this gear. I believe in JP, Love for Trabia gets upgraded to 100%. I believe Kunshira's STMR gets upgraded to a 100% bonus as an accessory, and so it gets a little easier for mages. But as it is right now in global, we're kind of really limited to those 50% options, and that eats up most of Rain's slots. One other thing you want to consider, in addition to just the raw stats, is the modifier of your weapons. So a single-handed spear, for example, is 1 to 1.3x modifier, which is, it's good for a one-handed weapon. But what if you look at like a two-handed weapon? We'll look up the Sylvan Scythe, right? It's a two-handed spear. It's 1.25 to 1.75. So the modifier is just significantly higher, but you're missing out on a bunch of base stats. So you have to kind of weigh your options. It's also technically easier to gear him for true double hand than it is for True Dual Wield. And this specific spear gives him really good LB damage buff as well. So you got to kind of weigh your options. The good news is you now have a really good playground to mess with this. In Dark Visions, you can go back and replay the old trials, the old fights, without getting any points for it. But you've got a nice 6-person team you can run against a real enemy, not the training dummy, and see how his damage stacks up, versus with a two-handed weapon or a pair of one-handed weapons. I'm guessing most of the time, if you can get it right, 2 one-handed weapons for Dark Rain's gonna be the way to go, especially if you've got 2 of his own STMR. So kind of cool. Now, there's of course one more layer I want to go over here. What about leader skills, right? Leader skills came out this week, and that just takes a good thing and turns it up to 11. So for example, in this setup here, I've got Rain not set as the leader, right? And his magic is 13,950. Rain's leader skill is not that good compared to some of the ones like Deosis or Ibarra if you have them, but he does happen to have a leader skill, right? It gives a 100% attack and magic for Dark JP Anniversary units. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and set him as the leader, and now he's the leader, and you can see the sparking thing going on there, and now he's got 14,657. So it definitely helps, but that's how you're seeing some of these Rains that have like 15,000, 16,000, 17,000, 18,000 magic. It's because of leader skills. It's the combination of Rain having crowns, building as a true dual wielder with the maximum bonus, having his abilities upgraded, having him stat potted in level 130 and things like that, and then the massive bonus that comes from having a good leader skill. That just kind of pushes them all the way there. So it's it's going to become a very important part of the game. You know, the free leader skills do exist in a lot of ways, but they're not as good as the ones that you could have if you have the premium leaders. There you go. So hopefully that kind of gives you an understanding of, like, do you want to build a unit as a true double hand or a true dual wield? It's going to depend a lot on what options you have for your gear. Like I said, what vision cards you have, what units you're talking about, what their specific TMRs and STMRs do. You know, we looked at 3 examples. Ling didn't get bonus stats or modifier increases, but she did get much stronger when it came to her base attack. Roberta and Ignitos got much stronger and have good modifier boost because of all those bonus stats from their STMRs. Pretty good for them. And Dark Reign, of course, is absurd with leader skills and his crowns and his STMR ×2, and just being a premium unit. So like he's got a lot going for him right now. And there you have it. If you've got a question for next week's video, be sure to let me know in the comments or in the comments on YouTube, or ask me a question in community chat. I'm really excited about that. And we'll do what we can to try and answer it. I'm really hoping I can get myself a leader skill here in the near future. I don't have any of the good ones yet, so now I'm really hoping for it. But I know it's kind of hard to get them. You know, it is what it is, you know, on a budget. So until then, you guys be good to each other, take care, and we'll see you in whatever video is coming next.